Hello and welcome to Athlantic, the show where an American and a Brit take turns crossing the pond to learn about sport culture in the UK and the USA. I'm Adam Jordan, your resident American.
And I'm Harry Collins, your resident Brit. Episode 24, Adam, which means that we have to assign a patron saint. Before I make a couple of apologies, would you like to tell everybody who is the patron? And remember that the patron saint is just the athlete that we associate with the number of the episode.
Yeah.
So who's your athlete that's associated with number 24?
24.
Never heard of this person.
That's fair, and I want to get through this as quickly as we can because I want to
Sure.
know what you're apologizing for. So number 24 for me, one of my favorite athletes growing up is actually a guy by the name of Jeff Gordon, a famous NASCAR driver, but clearly
NASCAR.
not famous
Great.
over there. We've done a whole episode about NASCAR, and I think we may have gotten you to respect it a little bit more. But Jeff Gordon was my favorite driver growing up. He drove the number 24. He drove the a Chevrolet, and it was like it had flames on it, and before that it had a rainbow on it, and it was just like it was cool, and he was a great driver. Yeah, he won 4 NASCAR Cup Series championships. He's the third winningest driver by wins. He had 93 for his entire career. He won 3 Daytona 500s.
That's
honestly,
good.
on the numbers wise. Like, go ahead.
Some of those numbers are like a little abstract.
Sure.
If European listeners don't know what like a NASCAR season looks like, I'd like contextualizing 93 wins. But like I like the Daytona 5. You said the Daytona 500.
Yeah, the
He won
Daytona
3 of?
500. He won
That's
3
sick.
of them. The Daytona 500, obviously, it's like the biggest race
the-
in the NASCAR circuit.
Yeah.
The 93 wins, to contextualize that. He is he's number 3 on the all time list. There's only one driver or 2 drivers that have ever gotten to 100, and the top driver on the list got to 200. But that's like nobody will ever touch that record. There's, I believe it's 30, give or take a few, but I believe it's like 36 races in a season. So it's it's a nice long season, but it's not long enough for somebody to realistically in today's era get to that record.
Sure.
But anyway, Jeff
When
Gordon, fun fact about him, the only NASCAR driver to ever appear on as the host of Saturday Night Live.
That is a fun fact.
It is.
Okay, cool, fine.
Yeah,
Let's
take that to the
look
bank.
for more SNL related links in the future. I like that.
I'm here for it.
When I saw Jeff Gordon, I thought that's either a 50s baseball player or a contemporary NASCAR driver. There's absolutely no other sport where a Jeff Gordon, I think, feels at home. And just, we haven't discussed this at all. This is not on the show notes. I want your immediate, just off the cuff opinion on this. As a motorsport fan that grew up with NASCAR, do you think Formula One liveries are a bit pedestrian?
Yeah, big time. I am so
No
often
flames, no
underwhelmed.
rainbows.
Totally. I'm so overwhelmed. And the fact that there are, and I think it's more so that the colors to me just seem so random. Like I think Red Bull teased the other day some announcement that's coming in December that everybody was like, oh my God, is Red Bull actually changing their livery? Oh, are they going to like this, back to the Vettel area or the Vettel era? And somebody like posted this mock below it that somebody made. And it was by far the, top reply. Everybody was so excited, and to me it just looked ugly. Like, I don't know, I think a lot of the liveries in Formula One, maybe it's just because you're dealing with such little space, they just don't make a lot of sense to me. But hey, is what it is. And it also says something, just the difference of the cultures. We don't even call it, NASCAR didn't even call them liveries, they call them paint schemes, which is fun.
Cool. That's another instance where we share a language that's divided by a font. Mm-hmm. In the UK, we would just say horse riding. In America, you always like horseback riding. Like there's any ambiguity where on the horse you need to ride it. And like, what did you just call it? Paint scheme?
A paint scheme, yeah.
Yeah, great. That's too many syllables. We'll take livery. Let the French have yet another word in our lexicon.
All right. Well, maybe you can
Okay.
add that. Maybe you can add that little subtle dig to the apologies list that you're about to give. Because what are you apologizing for? I'm
So
curious. Did we say something wrong?
No. I realize this little gimmick I've been doing from the beginning. I don't own a shirt with a 4 on it, other than this poor Bryce Harper one, and the only time this has been a problem really was in episode 14, because I was like rattling around for 24 and I was like, what did I do for 14? And I looked at 14 and it's just my like UNC jumper. I completely skipped it. And I remember I got a flashback that we actually had this conversation in my previous set in my old flat where I said, in 10 episodes, I'll get a 4. I'll just buy one off eBay. I'll just get it. I will. And I didn't. So I was running around. I was wondering if I put like 2 plus 2 and then it'll just be all 2s. It was a nightmare. So Bryce Harper, bless him, wearing 34 on this.
Did you do that for
4? I did
4?
plus 2 plus 2, yeah.
Yeah.
But that was very, very early doors. You know, we'd started, yes, I had time to get a 4, but yeah, and I don't have to get one for 34 because I have,
because you have
Bryce.
34 right there. Wow. So
Exactly.
catch us in episode like 94 and we still have this problem.
The most frustrating thing is last time I used Bruno and Cucurella for 23. I had a David Beckham shirt that had 23 on that I'd been waiting to use forever. So my apology is to you, Adam, to our viewers, not our listeners. You never knew this was a thing, and also to David Beckham himself. So that's my, there we go. There's a little bit of housekeeping. I apologize. I'll do better. Adam, what's happened in sport in the last 2 weeks?
Wow, we're off to a rousing start. We just had like a 5-minute conversation on your jersey collection, and now we're this is great.
Schemes.
We're rolling right. Yeah, paint schemes, liveries, whatever it may be. Speaking of which, I've just put this up on the wall for our wonderful viewers. It was in the background earlier. We're just gonna like keep changing things around in our various backdrops and just see if anybody changes. Did anybody notice that Harry moved? We like briefly referenced it at the end of last episode. We meant to intro it, but yeah, Harry moved. So that's why his place looks different, and he's prominently featured Alaska in the background because he believes in Alaskan independence.
A really appalling scale, though.
Yeah, big time. Big time.
Alaska, obviously the biggest state. Doesn't matter. Keep going.
Yeah, we've. If you're still with us, you deserve a medal. All right. So what's happened in the world of sports since we last saw you 2 weeks ago? Well, we have a World Series champion. We talked plenty about the World Series last time and the Dodgers and the Blue Jays matchup and who America was going for and why. The Dodgers ended up winning in one of the best World Series that we've had in years. Probably, most people have been. I feel like the general consensus has been that it's our best World Series in 10 years since the 2016 series.
Wow.
And I tend to agree. It just was really great, really back and forth the whole way. Went 7 full games. There was dramatics in most of the games. There weren't really many, if any, blowouts. So that was exciting. So World Series, big success.
Do you think people were surprised with how competitive the Blue Jays were?
I think probably at the beginning of the postseason, I think there were some doubts just about how well that team, because I mean the team had gone from last place into getting into the postseason, and like yes, they caught fire at the end, but it's not like they were the hottest team or the best team for a period of time. Like there wasn't really a superlative that you could place on that team, and so but they just put it all together really well throughout the playoffs. So. And they really did again throughout the playoffs kind of build up that momentum. So I think that a lot of I don't think that anybody was surprised that they put up a fight. They were in position. They had 2 chances to win it at home in games 6 and 7. And credit the Dodgers, they had some incredible performances to put it away. But moving on to some other news in the world of American sports, we have 2 brand new professional teams, which is not something that you get very often. So how much fun is that? Harry, do you know, other than the fact that I realize now that I put the names in the show notes, but
Uh-huh.
did any of this news make it over about hockey?
We get so little hockey news at all. I can't say I knew about this before I looked at the show notes a couple of days ago. I would like to say one of these names for these two new franchises is excellent, and I think the other one is one of the worst franchise names I think I've ever seen.
Wow, I'm curious as to what you're gonna say because I think one of them feels to a British audience probably it feels like the natural, but knowing you, I feel like it's the one that you're gonna say is worse. So the two team
I
names we knew they were coming in. The PWHL, the Professional Women's Hockey League, this season will have two brand new teams, one in Seattle, one in Vancouver. The Seattle team is called the Seattle Torrent. The Vancouver team is called the Vancouver Goldeneyes. So a little bit of like a James Bond kind of thing. Your wincing reaction, you hate it.
So, number one, I don't know what a golden eye is. Is that a golden eye like a thing? Is that like the nickname of a predator, or like a I don't know, like a lone ranger? Like what is golden eye supposed to like summon as an emotional response other than a link to a movie franchise which does very little other than belittle and abuse women.
Which, perfect for the Professional Women's Hockey League, clearly.
Exactly.
But no, the Golden Eyes are it's supposed to be like a bird of prey kind of motif. Like they've got like the logo
Sure.
is like an eye of
Uh-huh.
I honestly haven't looked into what the bird is supposed to be, but it's like a bird of prey kind of thing.
I guess we ran out of birds of prey. I knew it was getting bad when we hit pelicans, but I think we probably could have stretched for one more. Seattle Torrent is a great name. That
It's a
rolls
good
off
name.
the tongue. A torrent is, like the current in the sound. That's great. That's really good. That's powerful and emotive. It's like avalanche or like oh god, there are so many good hockey names. Like Thunder or the Hurricanes, that really like that like
Yeah.
sort of primal power. Torrent's a really good name. Seattle have got really good names across the board. Mariners, the Kraken,
Yep.
obviously the Torrent, the
The Seahawks. Yep.
Seahawks. The Sounders is pretty good.
Yeah.
Am I
Formerly the
missing one?
Supersonics that used to be.
The
That was
Supersonics, that's
yeah.
so good.
Yeah.
So great job for Seattle to firstly for adding a professional women's hockey team,
Yeah.
and for naming it so well. And Vancouver, I give this name 2 years,
Yeah, I think I know
and
where
then
you.
you'll change it.
I think we know what side you're on in the Seattle Vancouver rivalry. I think he is firmly gonna find himself maybe the first person to have a Seattle Torrent jersey in the UK or
Yes.
anywhere abroad. To be honest, outside of the US or Canada, we've got a couple other things that I think will lead us into the main body of our episode. But I know that you had a note in here about remembrance games.
Yes. So obviously, in the UK, Remembrance Sunday is the Sunday on which basically it's our Memorial Day. It's the day that we remember fallen heroes in the British military, present and past, and every weekend closest to, or now either side of Remembrance Memorial Day, Remembrance Day, which is the 11th of November, we have remembrance games where teams will wear the poppy, which is the symbol for remembrance in the UK, and we always observe like a minute's silence.
Yep.
It's a wonderful tradition. It's always incredibly well observed, and the shirts that bear the poppy, I've actually shown one on this on the podcast before, are always auctioned off, and the proceeds are given to veterans charities. So it's a powerful, it's an incredible thing that happens, and for that I don't want to make fun or or distract from the powerful message that we continue to remember. However, one thing that is accidentally quite funny about the Remembrance Days are when the teams are lined up and they observe the minute silence, they are always accompanied by their team mascot, which means
which is a different thing in the US versus the UK.
I hope not. The mascots are the big costumes.
Oh, you're not talking about like the kids.
No.
Oh.
No, but from the looks of it, the kids are like taken away. They cannot be trusted to observe the minute, but the mascots typically stay with the players. So what I'm going to do, Adam, is I am going to show you 5 pictures of mascots observing the Remembrance minute silence. And I just want to tell you what team they're representing. Because some of these pictures, obviously the mascot, it cannot change its facial, like its expression. So they're always smiling and it's incredibly inappropriate. And the answer is just don't have the mascots there. But every year somebody leaves one out and it's inappropriate. So Adam,
put these up for everyone.
These are going to be up on the screen. Here comes your first one. I just want you to tell me which team this one represents. I can't remember what his name is. But you see the problem?
I see the problem. I mean, it's a Red Devil, so is that Manchester United?
That sure is Manchester United. Here comes your second one. That? You should know. That's a Red Devil. You should know what team this is.
This is AFC Wimbledon.
That is the Womble. Do you know what a Womble is?
I don't.
We do not have time for Womble.
Yeah, we don't. I asked you this one time, and it just went in one ear out the other.
There's absolutely no way of properly doing the Wombles justice. I'll do a TikTok on them. Okay, so nice and quickly. This one will be a good one. I think you'll be able to work out who this is, what team this is. There? This one's particularly bad because of the height involved.
Is this Swansea?
Very good, Adam. That is the Swan of Swansea. Then we'll do a couple more. Right, this one is a little bit older. This one has changed. When I was a child, I thought this was something different. I hope you can use the context clues to work out which team this one is for.
Oh my god. Is this... what is this? West Ham?
Very good.
Is it
Adam,
a hammer?
You're killing this. Yes, it is a hammer. When I was a young boy, I went with my dad to watch Brighton play West Ham, and I was like, that's a TV. That's clearly a guy with a TV on his head. And to that end, our very last one. Now this, I cannot find a picture for this mascot observing the minute silence, but I have just found a picture because it's the world's best mascot. Can you tell me who this one is?
What in the world is that?
This is Boiler Man. For those of you listening, this would not have been a good segment. We had a Red Devil, we had a Womble, we had a Swan, we had a humanoid hammer, and now we have Boiler Man, which is a combi boiler, which is exactly what our English, I'm sure you have them in America.
Yeah,
they just make your water hot. This machine, it fires and warms up water that you put in your bath and your shower and your hot tap.
We have a what appears to be a tankless water heater. Here,
very good. Yeah,
a mascot.
There's no way. Sorry, just to our conversation earlier. Did you just call it a tankless water heater?
That's what it looks like to me. Yeah. It doesn't have a tank on it.
What did I say earlier about horseback riding and paint jobs or whatever? Yeah, it's a boiler.
You're just descriptive, Harry.
The American language has so far to come. So yes, this is Boiler Man. Can you give me any guess what team Boiler Man represents?
Oh my god! I mean,
there's no way of
there's
knowing.
no
if you
way.
Don't know.
No, I don't know. I'm gonna throw out. Can you at least tell me, are they in the top flight now?
They are not currently, but they have been in the last 15 years.
Oh Lord.
That's not
Then
much of a help.
I have no idea.
No worries. I'm not going to tell you. I would like everyone listening or watching at home, if you know who Boilerman, if you know who Boilerman represents, I'd like you to tell Adam in the comments. Maybe let us know just the name. We'll play this game again in the comments. Just let Adam know the name of your team's mascot, and he'll respond and guess which club your mascot represents. So that's our little game. We'll come back to that. Maybe we'll do that again in the future. But do you want to tell us, Adam, about the National Hockey League going global?
I do, because the Pittsburgh Penguins. I'm wearing yet another Pittsburgh Penguins jersey here on the show today. If you
that
were
one's
listening,
gorgeous.
not watching, this is one of my favorites of all time. I think it is criminally underrated by our fan base. You can't really see this thing, but like it kind of, when you put your arm out, this like gold stripe kind of continues on the bottom, and it kind of becomes like this triangle that kind of mirrors the logo. It's so cool. I love it. It's from the eras like when Sidney Crosby, like this was the first home jersey that Sidney Crosby wore when he was a member of the Pittsburgh Penguins. So like still is and always will be a member of the Pittsburgh Penguins. Anyway, what's that? What are you pointing to?
Touching wood.
Oh, yes.
Just lock that in.
See, that's another thing. You touch wood, we knock on wood. So I don't know where that happened. Maybe we just needed to be
for
more
the podcast.
forceful.
I couldn't make a noise.
Yeah, no, you cannot, and I appreciate that when I go through and edit this later. Anyway, so the NHL is going global. They've done this multiple times before. They're going to Sweden. In fact, the Pittsburgh Penguins have actually played in Sweden, but as we're recording, they're a couple of days away from doing so. They'll play 2 games against the Nashville Predators in Sweden, which is just a great name, Nashville Predators. Just not
good.
You know, why not?
It's not Goldeneye.
No, it's not Goldeneyes. Nor is it. One day we'll do a deep dive onto like old teams, and I don't think it'll make sense for the show, but I do need to let you know that there was an NHL team that was almost named the Rocky Mountain Extreme, and I just need you to know that. But we don't have time for that right now.
Very good.
So the NHL is going to go play 2 games in Sweden. The goal is to get new audiences involved with the game, involved with the NHL. Obviously, the game of hockey is not new to Sweden. Hockey has been played basically forever in Sweden. There's tons of fans in the area, but a nice way for the NHL to engage with those fans. They don't really they would never get to see the NHL unless they made the long trip over to the US or Canada. Sure. So fun that way. And then we've got a couple of other global games happening. This past week, there was just the NFL's first ever game in Berlin between the Falcons and the Colts.
Which really surprises me that this was the first one in Berlin.
Yeah, because Germany has a very... probably of anywhere in Europe in terms of like participation, in terms of like a culture, like just as much as anywhere. It more, if potentially the biggest like culture around American football in Europe. If it's not, then it's right up there with any of them. But yeah, so this is the first game in Berlin, not the first game in Germany. There was a game in Munich a couple of years ago. I think they may have even played in Frankfurt last year. So the NFL making that push into Germany. And then another first coming this year. Next week, there will be a game at the Bernabeu in Madrid, and the NFL will play its first regular season game in Madrid. Yeah. And that is a really, really neat segue into today's episode, which is all about international games. And really, we're pretty expressly going to be comparing the NFL with top flight football in Europe for this one, in terms of playing regular season games away from your home continent. So the NFL playing games in Europe, the NFL playing games in South America, as they've recently done, or all of the talk that feels like it just keeps growing about the Premier League, La Liga, Serie A going abroad to play games in the U.S. or otherwise. So I think this is going to be a fun discussion. But before we get into that, I have a little bit of trivia for you, Harry, and that is, what was the first place that a U.S. or Canadian pro game was played outside of North America? So I'm looking for the sport and the place, if you can give me either.
The sport and the place is
Yeah.
great. I think, logically speaking, I think there's only two sports that it could be. I'm almost certain it won't be American football because there's such an emphasis on American football now. It feels like we're getting into a stride. It would be crazy if it was the first one. Also, because American football is the only sport in the US that has not translated somewhere else in the world. So if we're talking about like blossoming markets, I think basketball, baseball, or hockey would be far more obvious choices. I don't think it's basketball, and I would say because of the sort of Cold War element between the USSR and the USA in hockey, and is it the Miracle on Ice that was
Yeah, you got it, 1980.
I would say it's probably like a repeat of that. So if you were asking me where that would be, I wasn't anticipating that part of the question. If it was hockey and if it was the US versus a Soviet bloc place, it would either be Scandinavia or like South Korea or Japan or somewhere like that.
Very good. I'll give you another opportunity to get a point. Do you want to wager the year, or at least the decade?
I'll only go further down this rabbit hole that I've made. I would say if I'm right and it's hockey and it has anything to do with the Cold War, I'd say it's very late 80s.
Okay.
But of course, if it's like baseball is loved in like so many places in Latin America and like East Asia, it could be that. But I don't. But no, I'm sticking with my answer.
I like the story you're writing. I like the story.
Hockey, Cold War, like the Miracle on Ice 2, and then like America got blown out in 1988.
I love it. And I also love that I realized that I never like gave you a specification of whether it's like whether it's like a pro team, because you kind of went national. At least I feel like I said it. I don't know.
I immediately went national.
You've got the sport bang on. It is ice hockey. You are incorrect on the other two angles. It was unfortunately not your like challenge series idea, although there were other series. Like there were like the Canadian national team played the Soviet national team a few times in the 80s, right. I think. Maybe even in the 70s as well, but don't quote me on that. Anyway, the reason that I asked it in the way that I did is because it's actually pretty close to home, but it was a lot farther back than you're thinking. Harry, back in 1938 was the very first time that an American or Canadian, North American pro sports team came over to Europe and came over to the UK to play play a game. They weren't regular season games, but the Detroit Red Wings and the Montreal Canadiens in 1938 did a 9-game European tour. They played 6 games in the UK and 3 games in Paris. And I say the UK because half of those 3 of those games were in London. The other 3 were in Brighton.
Wow, Brighton has a team. They have an ice hockey team somewhere.
I did not know this.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Okay, big love to Brighton. Yeah. Crazy that it's a UK tour and they stayed between Brighton and London when like there's ice hockey in the UK, and like the epicenter for that is like Nottingham and Sheffield and more like provincial towns in the north. So that's amazing trivia. Yeah. That's really good. And that's pre-Second World War.
Yeah.
That's when that's really good. That's such a good bit of trivia.
Yeah, I thought you'd enjoy that. Yeah, the London games were played in a place called Empress Hall in Earl's Court. And then the Brighton games were in a place called Sports Stadium Brighton. Very, very creatively named. I don't know, it might be called something else now. It might not exist
Sure.
anymore. But anyway, I thought that'd be a fun bit of trivia to kick it off. But anyway, so we've got 3 different global games happening here in these more games than that. We got 4 different global games happening over this span of 3 weeks. And it's just something that you and I have talked about over time. You've been to an NFL game in the UK.
Yep.
I have not been in person, but I've seen, some of those preseason summer series friendlies on TV over here of Premier League teams or other teams from Europe coming to the US to play. So I want to explore that a little bit. So
Sure.
I think the best way to start is kind of just a little bit of history of how we got here. So again, we talked about that NHL game, but we're really gonna focus in on the NFL, and again those top
Sure.
leagues, top flight soccer leagues in the in over in Europe. So the NFL started playing preseason international games back in 1986. So this has been happening for quite some
That's
time.
so much further back than I thought it would.
Yeah.
I thought you were going to say like 2005.
Yeah, no, and that's
Wow.
2005 is much closer to when the regular season games started happening. So the first
Okay.
time that they decided to take the game over, take a regular season game over to London was in 2007. And ever since then, they've basically, with the exception of COVID and maybe one other year in there, they've been playing at least one game somewhere, one regular season game somewhere outside of the United States,
Wild.
for that entire stretch, and very often multiple games per year. Certainly now, you have more than half a dozen games happening. In fact, the NFL allows, under its current agreement, they've approved having 8 different regular season games over the course of a season played abroad. So there's been 50 by the end of this season. There'll have been 55 played outside of the U.S. by the end of the year. Then one more stat for you: 42 of those games have been in London. So I have a few questions here. Number one, do have they kind of lost their edge at this point? Like, is it something that like
Ooh,
people in the UK care about still
that's
broadly?
a really good question.
And what's your experience been with it?
So, actually, both of these answers blend really nicely because, yeah, that's a really good nuanced question. They have lost their edge, but that's not a bad thing because I think at the beginning it was far more like a circus. Oh my God, the biggest entertainment thing in the world is here. Let's go and see. Let's go and it's like Disneyland, right? We're gonna go and dip our toes into this kind of fantasy that we only see very late at night on the TV and we read about on like very particular websites. And it's here, and we get to see what is, without doubt, the most sort of sensational sport. I don't. Obviously, it's the most popular sport in America, but NFL has the pageantry and has the awe factor that a lot of other sports are sort of dying for. So when it came, and I remember, I'm surprised you said 2000. Do you say 2007 was the first London game that in the regular series?
Yep.
I'm surprised it was that early as well. I went probably in 2014 with a couple of school friends of mine and saw the oh my God, the Kansas City Chiefs and the Miami Dolphins play. And it was amazing. And they play at Wembley, which is the biggest stadium, or they certainly did then, was the biggest stadium in
Yeah,
the
they've played
UK.
it. They've played at a couple different states. They've played at Wembley. They've played at Twickenham. They've
Yeah, they play
played
at Tottenham.
Tottenham Stadium.
Yeah. And like there are plenty of that they played in Dublin recently.
Yep.
The UK is actually really rich on stadiums that are similar, if not slightly bigger than some of the biggest NFL stadiums. So like we've got like the space. We can put on this show. But you're so right. When I went in 2013 or 14, it was all about like the entertainment. It was all about like the wow. And now we've had 42 games. It's now we're sort of into more of a intimate fan relationship, which is where I think the NFL wants us to be.
Wait, what do you mean by do you mean like people rooting for like the Jaguars because they go there all the time, or are you talking about like the fans just getting more mature to watching the game? Like what do you mean by that?
The game that I went to see could have been an exhibition game. Nobody in the stadium cared.
Oh, sure.
Nobody knew where they were in their division. I'm sure some people, like diehard fans, knew, but nobody really. And also, it was at a time when the Dolphins and the Chiefs were not very good. And that's actually something that I think we'll come back and talk about, which is a strategy that I think the NFL is maybe missing. But now we're past that. Teams are coming. This year we had the Vikings. They had a huge presence here. The teams themselves always make like a really good effort, but I think now we're a far more literate fan base for the
Yeah.
NFL that teams will come over and we kind of get where we are. Now, I think your point about the affinity for the Jaguars, because the Jaguars keep coming and playing here, is a really good one. Do I think London is still being buttered up for maybe like an expansion franchise? Maybe. And if it is, I think we're almost cooked. I think we're almost ready for it. Obviously, there are some huge questions to answer still.
Sure. I mean, they've been talking about having. I mean, probably for 10 years they've been talking. Probably
Yeah.
even more than that. They've been talking about having a permanent team in London. I still think that we are, and this take could age like milk, but I still think that we are a little far off logistically from that. Like I still feel like
Yes.
that we haven't quite figured out the way to make that fair without having like a whole division out there, which is something that's been proposed.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's interesting to hear you say that. Do you think that I mean, I don't know if you have any data for this, and I certainly don't, but I would be curious if, how sticky that fandom is. Like, is it people that are just, like, are they following their team throughout the season? Are people picking teams? I mean, yeah, like you said, people are getting more literate to the sport, but,
So,
is that easy enough to follow?
good question. The stickiness, I think, actually no. What we really need is far more consistency to actually convert people into having like a local team. The Jaguars come a lot there, but they probably are London's most favorite team,
Yeah.
but by proximity. But they don't feel like ours, which they're not. And here's the thing: Jacksonville are now building like a brand new stadium for the Jaguars. So I don't think if anyone came over, or unless we had an expansion franchise, it wouldn't be them. But what you do see when you go to these games is every single jersey is there. There was a
Yes.
fantastic TikTok by
Yes.
NFL UK, I think I sent to you,
Yeah,
where
you
at the
did.
last game at Tottenham, they're like, let's spot every one of the 32 teams, and they're all there.
Yeah.
And you only buy a jersey if you actually like the team, and only 2 of those 32 jerseys are there to watch a team that like is playing. So the stickiness is still something we need to get over, and we either get over it with our own franchise or if one team just kept coming and playing here a lot. But of course, that asks a different question.
Yeah.
I think London's ready, but I agree with you. The NFL is not.
Yeah. It would be very interesting for it to get to that point. And it's not as though the NFL isn't pumping the brakes on any of this anytime soon. Roger Goodell, the commissioner of the NFL, has outright said that their goal is to double the amount of international games that they have per year.
Christ.
The NFL is also trying to and will likely get through with the players an expanded season, so extending the season by one game for each team. So I
Sure.
think the idea is to incorporate an international game as part of that. And again, 16 games obviously isn't enough for one home game per team, but that's enough for each team to go over once,
Sure.
somewhere once per year. So yeah, so again, this is something that I think they're definitely trying to figure out. There's been talk of having the Super Bowl internationally at some point. Roger Goodell's
would be
also kind of
wild.
he has pumped the brakes on that. And we can get into that either in this episode or another time. But yeah, it's interesting. And then on the flip side, there's also how fans feel about having their team go abroad for a game.
So, gonna cut to the chase. We're not gonna bury the lead here. That is easily the biggest problem with European leagues trying to do this the other way around. The fans kick up an enormous fuss. Now, this is such a good... I was so excited to talk about this because this episode is a perfect blend of other episodes that we've discussed before. And one of them is episode 15, where we really talked about the difference between American and European sports. And one of these differences that we can particularly see in the NFL is a difference in fan culture.
Yep.
Despite the NFL being America's most favorite sport, there are only, did you say 16 games in a regular season?
There's 17 right now. They're working on
17
getting to an 18th.
Gotcha. So 17 right now. So your home team only play there 7 or 8 times. A season.
Yep.
So the intimacy of your relationship with your team is to watch them at home 7 or 8 times. Number one, to lose one of those sucks so much worse, I imagine. If you're a diehard, I go to every Jaguars game, and now you've taken one away from me. What is it like? Is a season ticket cheaper because they're going to take one away from you? Or
and that's the thing. It's not because
it isn't, right?
Because you have an odd number. You have an odd number of games. The teams fluctuate. One year you'll have one extra home game. One year you'll have one extra away game. Sometimes that away game, sometimes your international game that your team might be playing is an away game. Sometimes it's a home game. For the Jaguars, who have really linked themselves to London, especially. I mean, we know their owner Shad Khan is also the owner of Fulham. So and he has probably been the most probably the loudest voice in the ownership room about having that tie to London, especially. But
he bid something like 600 million to buy Wembley.
Wow, I didn't know.
That was going to be a massive step towards us having a London-based franchise, was to have a team dedicated for it. Wembley would still be England's football home. And then also Wembley is a massive money pit. Like, it loses money hand over fist. So to have a private buy would have been good. But yeah, the FA said no.
Yeah,
but
and
continue.
I'd be interested to go back and look at, and probably if I had dug deeply enough into my library's resources, I could have probably found a primary source on this, but I haven't done that just yet. But I would be really interested to see kind of the first time the Jaguars went over, which I believe was 2013, kind of the contemporary perspective as to were they, how did fans feel about it then? But I actually have a little bit of insight here due to friend and producer Wes, who is a big Jaguars fan. And I asked him kind of currently how fans feel about it, and he actually, to my somewhat surprise, said that most fans of the Jaguars don't like it. Which again, I'd be interested to see if that has changed over time or if it's kind of always been that way. But a lot of that is because the Jaguars consistently every year are losing a game. If you're a season ticket holder for the Jaguars, or if you're a fan who's just American based and trying to follow the team, God forbid on the West Coast, and you're already down on the time difference. If you're adding 5 hours to that, it becomes it becomes hard to follow, and you lose a home game advantage. I mean, that was a big thing that Wes said is that you actually it's not like the Jaguars have been a super competitive team for a while. You then take that team that's already not doing great, and then you take away a home game, you take away some of that home field advantage, then it doesn't exactly set your team up for success.
So I've got 2 points to make on that. Number one, something that the NFL is doing wrong, and I will talk about this when I talk about the history of globalization in soccer, is I don't think we've ever had the previous year's Super Bowl winner come here. I don't remember it happen. We do not get good teams.
Well,
Now
okay, I
we
will
get
say
competitive teams.
that's true. That
Go
is
on.
true of London. It's not true of these international games overall. It was actually this I forget if it was this past year or the year before, but there was actually a rematch of the Super Bowl that happened in Sao Paulo, Brazil. The Chiefs. I think it was this
Fine.
past year. The Chiefs and the Eagles. Yeah, but so
But we but the Jaguars, one of the less
it's okay. Wes can take
good
it. Wes can take it.
sorry, Wes. Jaguars are one of the weaker teams in the competition. Like the Cardinals, I think, are like the absolute worst.
It's historically, if we're talking like historical ineptitude, it's the Browns. But go ahead.
And the Browns are awful for a billion different reasons. They've been over as well. We don't get the superstars, right? And if you're trying to grow a league and you're not going to give us a team, you have to show us like the best of that league. And I'll talk about this again in a moment, but like when the Premier League series came to America, yeah, it was a massive moment for like Brighton and another slightly traditionally smaller club came over, and Newcastle and Chelsea came, but like we still had like top 6 teams there. The last year, Man City played at UNC at the Keegan Stadium.
Yep.
The
Like
champions
Celtic.
were there. Yeah, crazy. But the champions of Scotland,
Yeah.
like the cream of the crop, are being sent to America, to Saudi Arabia, to Australia this year. The presentation of soccer outwards has been, this is as good as it gets.
Yep.
This is what you can aspire to. What we've had in London, I don't remember, and I'm more than happy to redact this if I'm just misremembering. I don't remember Tom Brady ever being here.
So
Like-
I'm gonna push back a little bit here. So
Okay.
I think this will help us segue into the soccer part of this discussion, because
Sure.
a key distinction here that we need to make is what kind of games are happening here.
Right.
So when NFL teams are going to London, it is a regular season game. The NFL has certainly ultimate power over these decisions, but the billion-dollar the television stations and streamers that pay billions of dollars and hundreds of millions of dollars to broadcast they bought these regular season game packages. They're not going to want to lose their Chiefs and Eagles games. They're they're in the prime of Tom Brady New England Patriots games to a window
Sure.
a television window that starts at 9 o'clock on the East Coast and 6 a.m. on the West Coast. Like, as fun as it is, like,
Sure.
I love, we've talked a million times, I love morning sports, but the ratings gods do not like a Sunday morning kickoff as much as they love that sweet Sunday night slot.
Cool.
So there is that, and I'll let you jump in a second.
Yeah.
But the other piece of it is when the NFL first came to the UK. In fact, that first game that was in London actually featured the then defending champion Chicago Bears, the champions of Super Bowl 20, and Mike Ditka's famous Chicago Bears team that's one of the more famous Super Bowl champion teams of all time. They came over, but again, that was before it was regular season. That was a preseason game. It's easier to trot out Erling Haaland into Keenan Stadium on a beautiful July
Sure.
day when he can just trot out there and pot a hat trick without thinking about it.
Okay. So, give us the All-Star game is like the most obvious answer, I think. who in does America care enough to not lose it?
You're,
Because we've talked about All-Star games
yep, we
and how
have.
the players are not necessarily that into it, and the fans kind of feel that, it's still amazing to see all of the stars, but it's not the Super Bowl. And I keep saying us, like
So
incredibly selfishly, not Europe. Give them to me.
give them to you.
Why can you, just off the cuff, before I fall into my history of soccer,
You want me to
which
shoot down your
actually,
idea?
yeah, please, because I'm about to show you why it's such a good idea.
Okay.
Why not give London the All-Star game?
In theory, I think that's a cool idea. And as you'll remember from the All-Star Game episode, the All-Star Game in football has a very special name. It's called the Pro Bowl. The
Oh yeah.
My Anglophilic heart thinks that's an awesome idea. I think it would be great if you could rock up to Wembley in February and have the
Yeah.
Pro Bowl happen there. That'd be cool. That'd be fun for British fans. The British culture, it'd be fun. I love it.
Yep.
The problem is I would wager a guess that you're going to have trouble getting players over there. You're also, the viewership is going to be, in America, it's already bad. It's going to be even worse because of the time slot. Again, unless you put that at midnight, you're pushing back. I think you're going to have trouble getting players over there because they're at the end of their season. Their bodies are already exhausted. Think about all that has to go into it. In a sport that is so physical and a sport that demands so much of you, you're having to travel and you have, your precious off season to recover. You're going to take a week off of that, fly all your people over to the UK. They're probably not going to be as excited as I would be to go over there because not everybody is a sicko like me, Harry.
Number one, that's why we have a collective bargaining agreement. We didn't discuss this in episode 15, but we should have. The collective bargaining agreement is just the relationship the players have with the league because they are employees of the league. Put it in the CBA, and then they have to come. We are not.
So you're saying that the NFL should force the union to have that to agree to that demand? Of all of the things they could use their leverage on, they're going to try to get people to play.
Big time. Put it in the CBA, or acknowledge that the NFL isn't taking this seriously because it's the only major league sport in America that is not translating around the world because the NFL is not taking this seriously. Right, I've got the figures.
Okay.
According to World Atlas, the ranking of the world's most popular sports by total fans, obviously soccer is first. Allegedly 3.5 billion soccer fans. This article's a year old, but also you cannot verify 3.5 billion. Second most popular is cricket. Then the third most popular sport by fans is apparently hockey. Now that includes ice hockey and field hockey.
Sure.
So that's a little bit of a caveat, of which field hockey will make up a slightly higher proportion.
I would say a much higher proportion.
Yeah, I was being kind because hopefully half of our listeners are American or Canadian. Then it's tennis, volleyball, table tennis. Then it's basketball because it has a huge European presence. Yep. Then it's baseball because it has such a massive... Yeah, precise. Yes. Oh my God. Basketball is the most watched sport on TV in China.
The NBA played games in Macau this year.
Unbelievable. Do you know, off the top of your head, do you know what teams they sent? Because I bet it wasn't.
I don't know. I know one of them
Jacksonville Jaguars.
I know one of them was the Phoenix Suns. I don't remember the other one.
I don't know if the Phoenix Suns are really good. Okay, so we'll skip well past that. My point is, American football is America's most popular sport. It doesn't rank here. Weirdly, 6% of Chinese sports fans that watch sport on TV do end up watching American football, which is crazy. Wow. That is some unbelievable soft power that American football has a presence in China.
And yes, that I would wholeheartedly agree with that. That is incredible. I will also say, I think the solution to growing that, to reversing that, if you're the NFL, if you want to spread the game, spread the fandom, I don't think it's having a poorly attended Pro Bowl in the UK or somewhere else in the world once a year. I think it's more of what you and I saw last year when we were at the Amex and we saw some kids playing playing American flag football and continuing to spread that throughout the country. And that's what the NFL is doing. Not saying it's right or wrong, but I do agree with that strategy.
I wholeheartedly disagree.
Okay.
The reason, and this is good. This might actually be like a good contentious, conversation for us. The reason that things like the Premier League Cup that happens in America, that is ultimately they're just a collection of friendlies, like the Pro Bowl would be. We know now that we're in a social media dominated sports fandom like atmosphere now, that people follow athletes far more. Well, young sports fans follow athletes more than they follow necessarily teams.
So true.
So bring me the Pro Bowl with Patrick Mahomes on 50%. You will get so many people there. People will turn out just to glimpse at these people. I paid a sickening amount of money to watch a game called Finalissima, which is just it's a friendly played between the winner of the Euros versus the winner of the America's Continental Cup.
Cool.
Just so I could see Lionel Messi play.
Cool.
And Lionel Messi did not care to be there. He was fine. He didn't do much. He probably saw a 30% Lionel Messi, but I would have paid £200 to see him with my eyeballs. And I did, and it was amazing. Bring me Patrick Mahomes, bring me a Tom Brady on 30% and no sleep, and you'll fill the stadium with children that are obsessed with the athletes and not the Jaguars.
Yeah.
Obsessed with the athletes and not even the Chiefs. They want to see Taylor Swift's boyfriend. They don't want to see the Vikings.
Yeah. And
now, obviously, there are huge caveats there, but
no, I think that's a fair point. I absolutely think it's a fair point. I'd be interested to see if the NFL, again, as they expand internationally, as they double the number of games that they're trying to get authorized to be international games, how that'll change the mix. Yeah, and how that will change the mix and try to get some more stars, and top teams involved. But otherwise, I was going to say I wanted to let you have the last word on that, but I was kind of agreeing with you, so I'll let you. But
it's all right.
I do want to make sure that we move on to the other part of this because we don't have a ton of time left. But I want to give you time to let them cook. So the other side of that. Europe is bringing on all sorts of American tours, is bringing the best of the best over to the U.S., but it's in the off season. It's that they're not bringing regular season games or cup games or anything like that over to the U.S. Are they bringing them anywhere else? I feel like I heard something about the Saudis at some point getting a Serie A game. And then, so what are the pros and cons here? I'll give you the floor.
So, the way that the globalization of soccer has gone was take the best players abroad and show them football, and those countries will fall in love with football. For that, we should talk about Corinthian FC, which was so amazing. I will make a TikTok about that, and I will tell everyone what Corinthian FC was, because it's an incredible story.
Can't wait.
But that was before the Second World War. Basically, like the Harlem Globetrotters, they would go around and they would show off the best players in the world, and they would turn up and they would just get people excited. Cool. And they were so good, they inspired teams to start. They are the reason Real Madrid wear white.
Whoa.
They had that much influence, right? Yeah, amazing.
Whoa.
After the war, football teams realize, we need to start taking our products abroad so that people start buying our stuff. We want them to buy Man United jerseys. We want them to turn up to this kit launch, and that happened in North America and Asia. These are underdeveloped soccer markets, and then that commercial era tipped the balance, and then things went a little bit wrong. Now this is, God bless the Germans, because they don't seem to have any problem with this. And we will get onto the stubborn Brits in a minute. But the French, the Italian, and the Spanish leagues have all dipped their toe into playing competitive games abroad. And here's the problem. They've dipped their toe, they've pushed the snowball, and it's now rolling. They dipped their toe and it's been bitten off. The train has very much left the station.
What metaphor is he going to come with next?
I know, that was pretty good. I realized dipping your toe in the water is maybe to check if the water's warm, not if there are piranhas. But hey, that's now canon. At the beginning of almost every top flight season, the previous year's league winner and the previous year's domestic cup winner will play a game. In the UK, in England, it's called the Community Shield, and it's the FA Cup versus the Premier League winner. I can't remember what it is in Germany, but in Italy, it's called the Supercoppa. In France, it's called Trophée des Champions, and in Spain, it's the Supercopa de España. They're all the same game. The best in the league versus the best domestic. And obviously, if they are the same, then it's the second place in the league or the second place in the domestic cup. During the 80s into the 2000s, these games, which are basically friendlies, they're at the beginning of the season, they don't really matter. They started to be played abroad. The Supercoppa Italiana was the first one to play abroad in 1993, and they played in Washington, D.C.
Oh, wow.
And I don't know what teams they were, but I should have checked that. But obviously, the teams that are going to win the league and the cup are two massive teams, and they've come over and they played this game. This kind of ceremonial curtain raiser for the league was played in DC. Since then, in 2002, it's been mostly held outside of Italy, in Tripoli, in Libya, which is a big old soft power geopolitical statement. Not a super big fan of that. In New York, Beijing, Qatar, and then in Saudi Arabia. And that's all when this was a single game at the beginning of the season, when it was like, nobody really cares. It doesn't matter. You don't win anything from this. Then the format changed, and this ceremonial half-friendly was now moved to the winter and includes 4 teams.
Oh.
The winner of the league, the winner of the cup, and then either third and fourth or the team who lost the final of the cup. So now we basically have the 4 biggest teams, the 4 best teams in Italy the previous year, playing a very small sort of bracket in Saudi Arabia. And they're now competitive games. Go on.
Oh no, I was saying but like they're competitive games, but like they're not games that like a team doesn't at the beginning of the year say we want to win the league so that we can win the.
No, you're right.
Yeah.
You're right, and none of these, unlike if you win the cup, UEFA give you access to a European competition, which is where most clubs want to be. You don't get that, but you do lift a trophy, and you should lift any trophy in front of your fans. And flying from Rome to Jeddah is a really long way to watch the team that should be down the road lift a trophy. And obviously, if you've got there, you've lifted a trophy last year, most likely. So maybe that's a bit of a sour point. But the problem is, this happened in Italy. It's also happened in France, and now it's happened in Spain. All of these competitions have swollen. In France, it's now exclusively hosted abroad since 2009. In Spain, it's been hosted abroad since 2018.
Interesting.
It was hosted in Morocco, and now, like the Italians, the games have been hosted in Saudi Arabia. That's sport washing. Absolutely no question about that. That is not about growing your league elsewhere. That's about snatching money. Unfortunately, specifically the French, Spanish, and Italian leagues kind of need to do that because we didn't get the Super League, and these elite clubs cannot compete with the Premier League. As I said earlier, God bless the Germans. Because of the 50+1 rule, the fans have far more power to stand in their clubs and the league's way for doing this. And so this isn't a problem in Germany. And as you'll remember, when we talked about the Super League almost a year ago, The big German clubs, Borussia Dortmund and Bayern Munich, said absolutely not from the beginning, despite their monopoly on the top of the German table. Those are two clubs that we should look to for inspiration when standing in the front of immense greed and sport washing like this.
Well said.
But the problem is, go on.
Oh, I was just gonna say, do we get to a point but are these leagues thinking about doing these for games that are, let's call them regular season games or cup competitions?
So, because these, as you rightly pointed out, because these games do not result in qualification to a European competition, they don't need to be sanctioned by UEFA. And they weren't, obviously. They're sanctioned by the sports federation in those nations, which is working, it's hard to say that it's all greed because they're trying to compete with the Premier League and that's where the real greed is. But they are motivated
it's trying to fill a revenue gap. It's honestly the same thing if you're an American fan watching this who's familiar with college football. It's how you have smaller conferences flirting with taking on private equity money. Or
that's a really good
about
point. Yeah.
going abroad themselves for certain games which have happened. Which ironically the Big Ten has just reached a deal to take private equity money, though they're the biggest spenders. Anyway, we don't have time for that.
Yeah. So my last 2 points are the snowball has started to catch, and it's going away. And to use another analogy, the first domino has fallen.
Sure.
And everyone's holding their breath on what the next problem is going to be. And this is incredibly topical because 2 weeks ago we had the answer. La Liga, this was way back now, this was months ago. La Liga approached UEFA, and because La Liga is sanctioned by UEFA, because the winner of the top teams in UEFA get qualification to a UEFA competition, they have to run it past UEFA, who then have to run it past FIFA. They said, hey, can we play a game, specifically Barcelona versus Villareal in Miami on December 20th? And La Liga said, go on.
No, I was just saying, I was watching this story as it happened, and I am amazed. Sorry, it was just a parenthetical. Please continue.
It's crazy. And so La Liga obviously said yes because what's it called? Relevant Sports is an agency that have been trying to push us through for literally a decade and a half.
Wow.
They've got the backing. They had the broadcasting rights ready. They were going to use the Hard Rock Stadium. It's all coming. Obviously, Miami with the F1 and the Dolphins. It's been a real sports resurgence for that. A real surge for that city. So it is all ready to go. And then unbelievable fan backlash. 18 supporters groups staged protests of both teams and other teams in the league. To make the league know, hey, don't mess with our traditions. Then the players started protesting when 2 weekends ago the referee blew the whistle to commence every game in La Liga. The players stood still for the first 15 seconds.
Wow.
It's quite amazing. What's more amazing is La Liga asked each broadcaster to not show it. Either zoom in on the ball so you can't see the players or cut to a shot outside of the stadium. And every broadcaster except for DAZN, and I don't really like DAZN, but DAZN said no and showed the players. Good for you. Nice one. Maybe I'll pay for a boxing match.
There you go. There you go. I think what's so, it's insane to hear that as an American sports fan, because that kind of thing just doesn't happen in the U.S. You just don't get these behemoth leagues to change course so quickly. Usually you don't it is so rare, and I feel like it's happened now with the Super League and now with this La Liga change, where fan pressure and to another extent player pressure force them away from it. That just doesn't happen.
Frustratingly, according to the article I read, the fan pressure and the player pressure were probably about 25% each the reason why it didn't happen.
Sure.
The actual reason why the plug was pulled was because the two teams playing, Barcelona and Villareal, the biggest protest they actually faced was from the president of Real Madrid, who kind of said, if Real Madrid aren't involved and aren't going to get this revenue, then I'm going to pull the plug. And Perez, the current, is he the chairman? He's not the owner because they're socially owned, but the chairman, the CEO of Real Madrid, kicked up so much of a fuss. La Liga was like, we can't really annoy this guy.
Oh, wow.
And he basically pulled the plug out of kind of like spite.
Idea.
If
I knew
Real
it had
Madrid
to be. It had to be
going,
something else. It couldn't be. It was too good to be true.
It's so political. If Real Madrid were going, if it was Real Madrid versus Barcelona, this would still be going on, and that sucks. It's a real shame. Now, here's the thing: if it was Real Madrid versus Barcelona, that's an El Clasico match, which is basically the Spanish version of the Super Bowl. So that's never going to move. So one of those two teams was always going to pull the plug. And actually part of their deal in Saudi Arabia is, regardless of who plays in that Spanish 4-team round robin, Real Madrid get the most money. Even if they don't go, even if they're not there, they always get the biggest bite of the cherry. So what's the final? What's the biggest domino on here? And this is my last point, and I will keep this as brief as I can. The 39th game is something that I'm pretty sure we've talked about before, because we were both talking about this earlier, about how one of us had mentioned this. The plan for the 39th game is the Premier League's approach to this mess. And the 39th game is actually a disturbingly well thought through plan, which was, in 2008, it was proposed that a 39th game is played. Currently we have 38, because there are 20 teams in the league and you can't play yourself twice. That an extra round would be inserted in it January. Where typically we play the FA Cup 5th round. This game was going to be in January.
Interesting.
Every team in the league, all 20 teams, would play their game abroad.
Wow.
Over both a Saturday and a Sunday. So there would be 5 games. There would be 5 games a day, and every team would be involved.
Whoa.
This was over 5 cities internationally. And I want to see if you can work out why specifically these 5. Melbourne, Beijing, Dubai, Indianapolis, LA. Can you work out why those in that order?
Oh, the order matters.
Yeah. Melbourne, Beijing, Dubai, Indianapolis, LA. It's for the time zones.
Sure, okay.
Each game would back onto the next game with only like an hour or two. So the whole day would be a Premier League festival.
Wow.
And that's disturbingly brilliant.
I was going to say, that'd be pretty cool.
Also, everyone would be like, hey, where's the competitive balance? That's not fair. They thought about that as well. First would place 6th, second would place 7th. So like, it isn't fair, but it's fair in like a structured way. And of course, like, this would be worth billions to the Premier League. But the Premier League don't need billions. What the Premier League needs right now is integrity. And we barely scraped by with the Super League. And we saw the backlash from the fans from the Super League were led by the backlash from the fans for the 39th game. As I said, this was proposed in 2008. It came back in 2014. And both times the fans exploded, saying how sporting integrity would die, citing the destruction of the domestic culture for fandom in the Premier League and the FA Cup, which, as we said in episode 1, we adore here. The commodification of their team, their players, and then also, bizarrely, and this kind of sucks, it's like that meme when the worst person you know makes a good point. Sepp Blatter, who's basically Darth Vader for sports, was the president of FIFA and said, absolutely not.
Wow.
You cannot do this. So the head of FIFA said, we will never sanction it. So it would have to be a breakaway thing. Wow. And the Premier League backed down. But here's the thing. The Super League, do not get this wrong. At some point, the Super Bowl... No, maybe not the Super Bowl. At some point, the Super League will happen. The 39th game will happen. La Liga will play abroad.
Yeah. This is
Serie A are going to play in Australia.
the One Ring is now like Gollum is finding the One Ring somewhere at the bottom of a river. It has not been thrown into Mountain Dew.
That's a good Yeah, you're right. Yeah, unfortunately, and I can't
if
wait
we
to
look
see
at
what,
it as this big bad thing.
yeah,
of course.
what yeah, and I think ultimately it is, because unlike Corinthian, and wait for the Corinthian FC TikTok, that was an incredible, inspiring story that started this amazing trend of other teams that birthed competitions like the Champions League. That's the right way of doing globalization. You make something new and you make that amazing, but you don't rip the heart out of the NFL, out of the Premier League, out of La Liga, and send it across the world for a paycheck, because you'll lose the golden egg laying goose that you currently have.
Yeah.
What we should do instead in Europe is make the finances far more equitable. I don't know how to do that, but if somebody wants to pay Adam and I to work that out, we will. Also, the NFL cannot have my Pro Bowl idea without first consulting or paying us. We've got to fix the finances in Europe, which means fixing the finances in the Premier League, which is, God, Sisyphus has better chance getting his rock to the top of the mountain. But, that's how we fix this. Please don't break the thing that we love.
Sure. So it's,
because we love it.
If you lose the core, what do you have? If you lose
Exactly,
so,
and then the product isn't worth anything.
Yeah, fair.
It doesn't matter who you're showing it to.
But it sure is shiny.
That's great, isn't it? I really want to go to an NFL game.
Yeah, and if a Premier League game although I'll be honest, for me, if I were gonna go see a Premier League game, it just wouldn't be the same if I went and saw it in Indianapolis. All due respect to it, or New York, or L.A. New York wasn't one of the cities, or L.A. or Melbourne, or for me, and again, because I'm a sicko, for me it's about being there on a cold, rainy night in Stoke. It's like which again, to your point, is the heart of it. So. I get it.
The product, the NFL that comes to Europe isn't the NFL that you love.
Yeah.
There's no tailgating. No. We don't know how to do that.
No, it's not.
We all force like the soccerisms into the NFL stadium, and we make something different with it. But similarly, the Premier League wouldn't be the same in America.
Next year, the University of North Carolina Tar Heels are playing a game in Dublin. I will probably attend that game.
That sounds like a holiday for us, doesn't it?
Yeah. You'll be there too. I'll probably be at that game, and that'll be great. It won't be great for the same reason that I love going to a game in Chapel Hill. It'll be a novelty. It'll be a fun, cool thing. Yeah. All right. I think that's a great. Wait. Oh, the referees just called for the 2-minute warning, so we had to stop anyway. Well, Harry. Let's abruptly shift this to a question. I wish there were like something physical that like dropped out of the sky. I should rig up something. I should like press a button and then have like an envelope for like a kid's show or something. Open it up.
I think our question is not too far a departure from what we've been talking about either.
It's not. And honestly, I think my record for this might break if you
come to Dublin.
Yeah, if I come to Dublin. So the question this week is, Harry, what is the furthest you've traveled specifically for the purpose of seeing a sporting event?
I haven't got like the actual number of miles. I'm sure it's in the high hundreds or low thousands. I attended with an ex-girlfriend of mine a game between Barcelona Femení and Real Madrid at the Camp Nou. The Camp Nou, if anyone's paying attention, and producer Dan is paying attention, the Camp Nou has just been renovated, so the classic old stadium was getting torn down, and we knew about this, so I needed to go and see it before it went. And also, we got to see a world record-setting attendance for a women's soccer match, which was broken less than 7 days later by the same team. But yeah, we were there with 96,000 people. It's the best atmosphere I've ever encountered. I was emotional being in Barcelona. It was so worth it. absolutely travel for sport. It's incredible. Just experience something new. Adam, what is the furthest you have ever traveled specifically to see a sports event?
That is pretty cool. The furthest I've traveled was 9 years ago. My dad and I went
I
to.
thought you were going to say through time. I
The
traveled 9 years
furthest
into the
traveled,
future.
I went 9 years into the future. I watched Brighton clinch the Premier League, and then I traveled again to watch the Pittsburgh Penguins lift the Stanley Cup for the 7th year in a row. And then North Carolina just won every national championship there was in 1 year. It was amazing. No, but it was back in 2016 in July. My dad and I went to San Diego to watch the MLB All-Star Game. That was a tradition he and I had
Cool.
for. It was we broke the streak a few times, but like we went to most MLB All-Star games between the years like 2006 and 2017. It's pretty cool.
That's great.
Very
Wow.
lucky. But yeah, so it was from Raleigh to San Diego. But yeah, pretty cool. But yeah, I would love to hear from you. What you, dear listener, dear watcher, what the farthest you've gone for a sporting event is. Please do let us know in the comments, because now I'm hearing things again. It's the final whistle, Harry.
That is the final whistle. That's our time up. This has been quite a long episode, but I've really enjoyed this. This was a really good topic. As Adam said, please let us know what is the furthest you traveled for a game in the comments below while you're there. Like and subscribe. Also, please don't forget to give Adam mascot names for his new favorite game. We're also, as I promised now on air, going to be back on TikTok within 3 days. Let's put a time limit on that as well. But yeah, it's a massive thank you for listening from me. I will see you next time.
Yeah, see you next time.